It's going to be warm today, and in fact, I'm about to shed my jacket because I'm starting to sweat, and that's bad. We don't want to sweat around here. Welcome to 2026, everyone. I hope that you had a good holiday season, good Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and all that sort of thing, whatever else weird holiday you celebrate, I don't know. But I hope it went well for you, and I hope that your 2026 is going good so far, that you're on schedule and things are going relatively smoothly, all that jazz. Well, other than the fact that I'm behind, because today is January 12th, I had intended to be doing this video much earlier. Other than that, I mean, everything's going pretty smoothly. We're getting some projects taken care of and stuff. Latest bit of drama, which I did not expect. I think the pump motor might have quit on the Dewey's bale loader, which is not the end of the world. I mean, we can still feed hay with the skid steer, but it's incredibly inconvenient to drive the skid steer 2 miles to the other place, put a bale out for the calves, and then bring it back. And so it's much nicer when this thing works. But if that pump has quit, well, let me tell you for a fact, it's paid its dues. So we will be working on that later today. But for right now, it is time for the 2025 channel review. And spoiler alert, the channel did very well, thanks to you guys. And part of the reason the channel did very well is because the farm did very well. So because of all that, there's a lot of things I want to go over and talk about. But since I'm kind of behind and I really want to get this video out so I can move content production along because I have other plans, we're going to try and keep this as short and to the point as possible. So here's our finger crossing so that we can hopefully make this the shortest channel review to date. I even wrote an outline so I can stay on track and not go off on tangents. Let's see how that works. We'll get in front of the camera, go over the basic stuff, then we'll get into the more interesting stuff. Now, if you manage to make it to the end of the video, I have a big spoiler for you, sneak preview of a big project that we are going to be messing with here in 2026. And the cool factor for this thing is off the charts. You guys will be just as excited as I am. I'm sure of it. So I hope that you'll stick around until then. Now, I suppose you could just skip to the end of the video and see what I'm talking about. But that's very, very rude and kind of disrespectful. And I think your parents raised you better than that. So if you will just be patient with me for a few minutes here, we'll get to the exciting stuff. Let's get into the basic stuff first, though. Oh, all right. I should look sort of presentable. As I said, the channel did very well, and all of the numbers I'm about to give you are of the 1st of January, 2026. So, as you can tell, I had really planned to do this video much earlier, but happens every year. We're always late. So, the channel gained 459 subscribers for a grand total of 1,423. That is awesome. Thank you guys tremendously for that. Videos. Now, I don't know how I had time to do this. I don't remember uploading this many videos, but I managed to crank out 51. And in that number, that includes 5 YouTube Shorts, which I wonder why I even bother with YouTube Shorts. Sometimes if I'm in the right mood, I will put one out, but short is not my strong suit, as I'm sure most of you know. But anyway, that brings the grand total number of videos on this channel by my count, not YouTube's, because who knows what they're counting. YouTube math is like bank math. You never know. Anyway, grand total videos on this channel, 199. So in some sort of bizarre poetic twist, this channel review will be the 200th video on the channel, again, by my count. Should be. If I'm wrong, well, you know, don't burn me for it. Views. The channel got 129,981 views in 2026, which is, or in 2025. We're talking about last year. This year's barely started. Anyway, that's how many views we got in 2025. That brings the grand total number of views for the channel up to 371,004. Very nice number. Thank you guys for that. Now, the really telling story here is watch hours, because as I said a minute ago, short is not my strong suit, and that is reflected in the watch hours, of which this channel gained 9,082 watch hours in 2025 for a grand total of 27,650 watch hours. That's a lot of watch hours. So thank you guys for watching all those really long videos. I try to make them entertaining so that you can get through them, but some of them are just a slog, and a lot of you made it through all the way. Thank you very much for that. Oh, hello, kitty. Don't mark the tripod. You're going to do it anyway. Why? Don't swish your tail at me. You guys can't see him, but he's back here being a menace. The final point for channel performance, and this was a very big deal to me. This channel actually made money because thanks to all of your subscriptions, I was able to apply for ad revenue on this channel through the YouTube Partner Program. And I, of course, was accepted, and so I actually made money this past year. That's a big deal for me. And that amounted to $729.16. That is what I made in ad revenue for 2025. Now, I'm not going to tell you what I made every year, but for this past year, for this channel review, I think I should, because, well, really the only reason I get money is because you guys watch the stuff that I put out. Now, I try to put stuff out that you want to watch, but still, that was really good. So thank you all tremendously for that. The YouTube money, that may not seem like a lot, $729, but believe me, for me, it is, and it helped out more than really you could ever know. Just to give you guys an idea of some of the purchases I've made with that ad money, one of the big ones is this AC hose crimper here. Now, I'll grant you this is the cheapest Chinese AC hose crimper I could find, but it does work. I actually used this, and I rebuilt the entire air conditioning system on the 875 Versatile with it. It's a hand pump, so it's a lot of work, and my shoulders were pretty sore by the time I got done building hoses, but it makes as good a hose as we could get anywhere else. And now that we know we can make our own AC hoses, we can really do all of our own AC work in-house, which is good because we have 2 trucks that are going to need air conditioning work, and so we can just order more fittings and lines and make all that stuff up, and that's really nice. I ordered a new, show you here, for the old DeWalt socket set back there. I ordered a new 1/4-inch drive ratchet, and I'd been putting that off for a while because the one that came with the set, I'd used the hell out of it, and it was getting really loose, and it was getting hard to switch it. And so I took it apart to oil it, and I lost the ball in the spring, so I didn't have a choice but to order a new one. But you guys paid for that, and I've been using the new one. It's still in pretty good shape, but it's going to get used a lot. Now, this isn't going to be a complete list of everything I bought with the YouTube money, but I'll get this out here, and I'll show you. Probably the best thing I bought in 2025 was this locking grease coupler. This is even the Lock and Lube brand. I have a product spotlight video on this, but this thing has saved me so much time, so much headache, so much frustration, and so much mess. It's really hard to quantify in words just how nice that thing has been. Definitely one of my best purchases, and you guys funded that. In addition to tools, I also purchased some service literature. I'm not going to go through everything line by line, like I said, but as an example, I bought some digital parts books for the heavy-duty trucks that we have because they are Fords and they're not in production anymore. I kind of had to look a little bit to find them, and I managed to find a couple of digital versions for the U90 and the grain truck for about 20 bucks a piece. And they're on the computer, and I've already used them a little bit, so they're pretty nice. They're a good quality piece there. I've also been buying some physical literature for The Secret that you will see at the end of the video. On a more personal note, some of the other things I bought with the ad money were hats, such as this one right here on my very head. I actually like this one. It fits pretty good. And you guys might think this is a little weird, but you bought my soap for the year. Because I am me, I like to buy the great big bars of soap from Duke Cannon. And I buy my soap a year at a time. So for 2026, you guys bought all of my soap. And again, you might find that weird. You may not have wanted to know that, but now you do, and you can't unknow it. You're stuck with that knowledge. For the next part of the video, what I want to do is take you guys around and let you know what we have been paying for equipment. I don't know if you've noticed, but through 2024 and 2025 especially, we've been getting a lot of stuff. And it's all things that we needed. A lot of it last year were things that we did not expect to get, but the deals came across our desk and we thought, well, we'd be kind of stupid to ignore them. And so we took advantage of a lot of things and we got a lot of stuff. So far, we haven't bought an absolute lemon yet. Everything we've bought has needed a little work at the very least, which is to be expected. But it's all worked out for us pretty good, and we don't really regret buying anything that we have acquired so far. So some of the things we got came from basically equipment dealers, some of it from Facebook Marketplace, a lot of it from auction. When I give you the auction price, I am giving you the price of the winning bid, basically, that we placed on it. I am not giving you the complete price because the only auction site we deal with is Purple Wave, and they put on a buyer's premium for everything that you purchase, which is fine. It's just I didn't write any of that stuff down. So I just wrote the contract price, the winning bid, that sort of thing is what I wrote down. So all I'm going to do is go around kind of in order of how we got stuff. Most of our equipment is up here around the house. The rest of it is down there with the implements. And I'll just give you the year, make, model, hours that were on it, when we got it, miles that were on it when we got it, where applicable, things like that. And we'll just kind of get through this pretty quick because otherwise it would go on for quite a while. And like I said earlier, we're trying to keep this timely. Okay, so before we get to our first subject here, I forgot to add all of the things that I'm about to show I have separate videos on, pretty much, because I did a walk around or an introduction to it when we drug it home. I will try and link all those videos in the description if you want to go check them out for more details on whatever it is I am pointing at. Otherwise, you just get basically the bare minimum information so that we can keep things moving along. We'll start off our list with this right here, going all the way back to June of 2024, where we decided it was time for us to get a combine. And Dad was perusing, of all places, the Facebook Marketplace and came across this gem. This is an International 1480 axial flow combine, approximately 4,400 hours on it when we bought it. It came with a 25-foot grain head, and including the price of hauling it here, which that was about 200 miles, okay, so including all that, this set us back $6,000. Now, at the time I did the walk around, I said we got a hell of a deal on it, and I meant it. This thing has done very good for us. No more than we've used it. It's done very good for us, and all we have to do is keep putting hydraulic fluid in it. After the 2024 rye harvest was complete, Dad decided it was finally time that we get a second tractor. Now, the tractor we'd been running for years, all by itself, is that 1974 Versatile 800. A good, solid machine, but not perfect. It did have some breakdowns from time to time, as you would expect from something that old. And having one tractor is like putting all your eggs in one basket. It's just not really a good idea. So, Dad was looking around, and he found this 1978 Versatile 875. Now, the hour meter said 1161 when we got this. And it's a little bit weird because you would think the tractor this old would have more hours on it. And oddly enough, there's a lot of indicators on this that show it is actually that low hour machine. And then there are also some things that indicate it is a higher hour machine. But regardless, it's in pretty good shape. The only things wrong with it were the air conditioning didn't work, the brakes didn't work, and the... Did you roll? Anyway, and the inside dual there needed a tube put in it. But otherwise, it's pretty much exactly as you see here. From the Riggs Tractor Company in Severy, Kansas, we purchased this for $14,000 delivered. And we thought that was a pretty good deal. And of course, pretty much all the problems with this are fixed now. And it has been an outstanding machine for us. I think we're about to hit 1,300 hours on the meter. So yeah, we've been using it. The Combine and the 875 were great acquisitions for 2024. We bought the 875 in July, and it was delivered in August, just in time for us to start working on it, getting it fixed up so we could use it. Now, in late October of 2024, we managed to get rid of our old skid steer and bring this much better skid steer back. This is a 2017 Kubota SVL 95-2S. Should be 96 horsepower skid steer. 3,060-ish hours on it when we got it. Only problems with it were that the HVAC airflow was really weak, which I fixed almost immediately, and then the door did not want to open and close all that good. I have recently fixed that, and so now it opens and shuts very nice. This machine came from the local Caterpillar dealer. They took this on trade. They had inspected it. They had a full point inspection of all the features it had, anything that was wrong with it. They were asking $35,000. Did not come with a bucket. We had to buy the bucket separately over there for $400. They let us have it because they're so nice. And we went ahead and traded our previous skid steer, which was a 2002 Bobcat T200, for $7,000 to get this Kubota. So yes, grand total we paid for this was $28,000. And this has been an outstanding machine for us. It is nice to have a skid steer that actually works, because that particular T200 we had was, oh, it was a whole dramatic story. Suffice it to say, it was a piece of crap, and we were not sad to see it go. We were very happy to haul that thing off. So yeah, that's what we paid for this, and we intend to keep it until we can't get parts for it anymore. Between the Combine 875 and skid steer, we thought we were shitting in tall cotton at the end of 2024. Welcome additions to the equipment fleet, things that we'd had on the list for years and we were finally able to get. So we felt pretty good about things, but as fate would have it, we were destined to score one more deal just before 2024 came to a close. And that deal was this. What you see here is a 1990 Ford L9000 365 Cummins 8-speed transmission. I don't remember what the make of it is. This also came with an 8,000-gallon asphalt tank. And this Purple Wave purchase set us back $2,450. We did not expect to win this, but we did. Drove it all the way home, and the only issue with this truck, quite honestly, is that the cab was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. But otherwise, this was an old asphalt truck, and they had to DOT these trucks every year, so it was actually well taken care of. And after we got it back here, I greased everything up. The fluids and everything were fine, and we haven't driven it much, but it's been a good truck for us as much as we have used it. It serves its intended purpose. We have, of course, since stripped the cab, cleaned it up a bit, and are in the process of putting it back together, but it has been reassembled minimally so that it's drivable. But yeah, this was a very big win for us, something we were definitely not expecting. Now, granted, we didn't get this home until March of 2025, but still, technically, we did buy it in 2024. After getting the U90 Ford home from Nebraska, Dad started a trend for 2025 of buying stuff that we did not expect we would get anytime soon, but nonetheless found a good deal on and took advantage of it. To begin that trend for the year in late March, early April, Dad won this school bus on auction, the aptly named Altoona Cheesewagon. That's what I call it. No one else does, but I think that's a fitting name. I'll let you figure out why I call it that. This is a 1999 International 3800 school bus. I do not remember the mileage and hours, but it came from a school district, so it doesn't have really a lot on it, you know? And of course, again, coming from a school district, it was regularly maintained, and it shows. Drove home just fine. We have multiple reasons for wanting a school bus. Most of those reasons are storage, and we've been taking advantage of its storage capacity a little bit. We've already deleted some of the seats and stuff, and we've used it for some other random things. But no, it's working good for its intended purpose. Starts up, runs good, drives good, does whatever you want it to do. So What did we pay for this magnificent yellow unit? $1,950. At the same time Dad was buying the bus, he was also on Purple Wave acquiring attachments for the skid steer. So he put bids on quite a few different attachments, but of course only won a couple of them, and that's okay. We picked up this KC grapple bucket for $1,500 and this Super Chinesium GE mulcher for $2,600. Now, the GE here originally came with some skids that went on the bottom and a push bar that was over top. Well, those two things are over there in the scrap iron pile. The push bar because it was very, very flimsy, and the skids because we took them off so we could get this lower to the ground. The reason we bought this is to grind off plum thickets because we have a lot of them. The problem with the GE, it works very well when it works, but it's driven by a timing belt, and a very specially sized timing belt, and it doesn't come with a tensioner or an idler of any kind. So it's basically a stretch fit belt. Well, the problem is if you have a special stretch fit belt and it breaks and you can't find a replacement, it renders the mulcher useless, which is where this thing is sitting currently. We're working on a solution to put this back into service. When we figure out what works good that can, we can use a generic belt on this, I'll have a video out on it. I already have, I think, a couple videos out on this. Maybe just one. I've made like 3, but I think I've only released 1. So anyway, yeah, again, $1,500, $2,600. Both of these were brand new when we got them. With the bus and the skid steer attachments safely home, Dad was once again making waves, purple waves that is, and he scored this Kraus chisel for $800. I don't know exactly what year this is. It is a 24-foot chisel. 742A is the model, and it had quite a bit wrong with it. We disassembled this entire thing, loaded it up on a trailer with the skid steer on said trailer, with said trailer on the back of my pickup because, well, the U90 was not ready to pull trailers at that time, and we hauled this thing home. We have since been rebuilding it piecemeal throughout the year. It is not done yet. That is actually one of the things we're going to try and take care of here in January. When we finally have this done, I will be doing a separate video on exactly what all we found was wrong with it, what all we did to it, and how much it set us all back. But we have desperately needed a bigger chisel because the one we currently have is literally as wide as the 800 and no wider. And we are trying to chisel our ground more instead of disking it because that's just better for the ground. And it's really hard to get that done efficiently when you've only got a 14-foot chisel. So really excited to take this out in the field. Wish we could have done it last year, but it just didn't work out. But yeah, $800 plus whatever else we've done to it. After we got the chisel in late April, I believe, we also bought a couple of implements from the neighbor, and they are down at the field with the others. We will go look at them later, but that was in May. So we took a break for a little bit on buying stuff, and then in, I believe it was July, late July, early August of 2025, Dad bought this grain truck on Facebook Marketplace for $6,500. Now, we did not expect to get a grain truck. We were actually looking for grain trailers, but we needed something to move grain around with, and fifth wheel grain trailers were very expensive. And so we talked about it and we said, well, the first thing that looks like we can use it that is either a trailer or a truck, that's what we're going to get. And as it turns out, we actually lucked out with this thing because this is not, I don't believe, a purpose-built grain truck. Now, what this is, 1979 Ford L9000. We did not specifically look for another L9000. We just happened across one. 350 Cummins, 10-speed transmission. Now, the interesting thing is that that's pretty good size for a grain truck. Those of you that know your grain trucks that are purpose-made for, hauling grain. This has what Dad and I believe is dump truck suspension in it. This is a way overbuilt truck for hauling grain, which in my opinion is how they should be, but most grain trucks that you see for sale are gutless. They're so gutless, and they're actually underbuilt, and you can't move around very fast with them. But this thing, That 350 Cummins is no slouch. So I do not know what the actual miles or hours on this is, because the speedometer works, but the odometer does not, and the tachometer does not, and the hour meter does not. As you can imagine, the rats have had their way with this thing. Most of the wires are gone. It's actually kind of amazing. We still have oil pressure working. Nothing else works. The lights do somehow, but none of the other gauges except oil pressure work. But it does run pretty good, smokes like a chimney, leaks like a sieve, but it does run pretty good, and no more than we've used it, it has done pretty good for us. So yeah, that was an unexpected but welcome acquisition to the vehicle fleet. Shortly after buying the grain truck here, once again from the Facebook Marketplace, Dad scored us a hell of a deal on a scraper. We've been looking for a scraper forever, and we are in dire need of one. Believe me when I tell you, there's a lot of dirt work around here that needs to be done, and a scraper is an absolutely essential piece of equipment. But because scrapers seem to be so expensive, we were really trying to figure out how we could squeeze in getting a good scraper, and it got to the point where we really considered trading the 800 on a scraper, which we didn't want to do. And yes, that put us back in the box of one tractor, but that was something we had seriously considered for a while. But thankfully, like I said, Facebook Marketplace came through for us. There was someone about 35 minutes to the south of us that was selling an old pull-type soil mover elevating scraper for $3,000. And I would show you that right now, but it is in perhaps one of the most inconvenient spots on the whole property, because that's where Dad left it. So I'm not going all the way out there just to show it to you. There is a walk around of it. It will be linked in the description. I'll put a picture of it on screen or something right now. And I do have a video of it working, because even though it is an elevating scraper, PTO driven, we don't have a PTO tractor that works that will also pull that, even if it did work. And so we've just been using it as a pan scraper, and it works okay for that. But the 875 doesn't have quite enough weight to pull that thing all the way full. So we're going to get a tractor that will run the scraper here in 2026. But anyway, it's been good for us. But yeah, $3,000. All we've done to it so far is replace some hoses, because the hoses were in pretty rough shape. And it came with 3 extra tires, which hopefully we will never need. But that was a load off of our mind, and that was a big item checked off the list for $3,000. Once we got the scraper back here, we almost immediately turned around and we went and hauled home a drill that Dad bought. We're going to go look at that drill here in a second. And then a couple months after that, I should say, late October, early November, we got our super special secret awesome surprise hauled home. And at that point, we thought we were done making purchases for the year, but Dad managed to squeeze in just a couple more little deals. I say little. This is actually a pretty big deal right here. This is a 2014 F350 6.7 Power Stroke diesel 4x4, 242,000-ish miles, $15,000. And honestly, that was a little bit below what these were going for at the time we bought it. Prices of these pickups seem to fluctuate between $15,000 and $25,000, of course, depending on mileage and trim level and stuff. But they can fluctuate quite a bit in a short period of time. So I think we came out okay. This is in pretty good shape. There is a walk around of this that you can go watch if you want. But since that walk around, I have changed the oil filter, fuel filter, air filter. I have drained and refilled the coolant with the correct orange coolant. I have drained and refilled the transmission with the correct Ford transmission fluid and Ford transmission filter. The only repairs I have made to this since the walk around, I put a carrier bearing in the rear drive shaft, and I put a serpentine belt and serpentine belt idler on the motor. And other than that, this thing's been running like a top, and we're very happy with it. And as good a shape as it's as good a shape as it's in, I think we came out ahead. I really do. It's just so clean under there. Not anymore, but it was when we got it, and that was really nice to service something that didn't have chunks of mud falling off of it right into your face. Quick tangent here in case you guys, because I know a lot of you are here because of the 6.4, in case you don't go watch the walk around of the 6.7 Power Stroke, we have not forgotten about the 6.4. It's still here. We do still plan to fix it, but honestly, this has got to be a back burner project. We have other stuff that really does need to take priority, so we just picked up something that would run, and we'll get to this at some point. We've got all kinds of ideas to get it going again. We'll just see what happens. You guys will know what we do with it when we do something with it, I promise. Down here at the implement staging area, to show you the rest of the stuff we got last year. We'll start with this. This was actually, I think, around the same time we brought the scraper home was when we got this hauled home. This is a late 80s Great Plains 30-foot full press folding drill, and it's awesome. We love this thing. I did not do a walk around of it because when we got it home, we were scrambling around trying to put it back together and get planted because it was raining constantly. And so every few days that we had where it wasn't going to rain, we were trying to get stuff planted before it came in and rained again and delayed us. And even though it took us a whole month to get planted, we finally got her done. And this thing really showed its worth. This is a very nice drill. Very happy with it. It actually planted pretty good considering stuff was sticky a lot of the time, let's say. We just kept getting little rains, keeping stuff nice and moist, and this thing never really plugged up. It did a good job. It needs some work, and we did have to do a little bit of work to it after we got it back here and ran it for a while, but nothing you wouldn't expect. Disc openers, couple of press wheel bearings, a little bit of welding here and there, but not too bad overall. So this came from the same place as the chisel. It was not an auction purchase. We paid that landowner cash because he did not have this slated for auction. When we were taking the chisel apart, Dad inquired about buying it. He said, well, let me think about it. So thought about it for a while. Dad got back in contact with him. He said, I'll let it go for $1,500. And we thought that was a good deal. So he got $1,500 and we got ourselves a much nicer drill than what we were using before, which was that John Deere 8350 there. And credit where credit's due, that 8350, and there was a second one like it that we used to use kind of as a wing off to the side. Those drills did plant a lot, but we hated them and we used them because that's what we had. And we couldn't really afford anything else at the time. So when we had the opportunity to pick up a real drill, we did, and this beats the shit out of that John Deere. I'll tell you that for free. This is a crust buster spring tooth. I was going to call it a cultivator, but to me it's more of a spring tooth, really. 40-foot hydraulically folding, which, oh man, you want to talk about luxury. It might be slower than hell, but it hydraulically folds, and that means you don't have to pick up the wings and set them on the little holders and then drop the pins in every time you want to go through a gate. Oh, it's so nice. It's so very nice. It's also 40 foot. 40 foot. That's ridiculous. This came from the neighbor. He didn't use it much anymore. And we were talking to him and he said, well, I'll sell that to you for $500 if you want it. And Dad said, hell, done. And this is very nice. A little unwieldy on some parts of the big field, but it does a good job. The only thing we might do to it, other than maybe tires, is take about half the shanks off of this because Dad said it was wanting to plug up real bad with trash. So we might make that modification, but otherwise it works. We're happy with it, oddly enough, and I know these tires look rough, but they all hold air. Enough. They all hold enough air to work. I think one of these actually quit towards the end of the season last year. But anyway, yeah, it's rough, but it works. Very happy with it. And for $500 and 3 miles away, you just can't beat that. The other thing we got from the neighbor at the same time as the old crust buster was this John Deere 1210A grain cart. I don't remember exactly how much it holds, but he said he always heaped it when he was harvesting wheat. So I was like, well, if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for us. He doesn't farm as much as he used to, so he's trying to get rid of some of the equipment he just doesn't need anymore. Those of you that watch the channel regularly will know that we don't like John Deere. And that's true. We didn't suddenly decide we love John Deere. But sometimes John Deere is all that's available. And quite honestly, $500 and 3 miles away is pretty tough to beat. You'd have to be pretty damn stupid to pass on that deal because, I mean, it's just a grain cart. How bad could it possibly be? So before I forget, earlier I said that Dad managed to squeeze in 2 deals at the very end of 2025. The first one was, of course, that pickup. The second one was a set of generators. He bought a couple of them a very long ways away. Probably the longest distance we will ever go to get something. But no more than they went for. They are going to be well worth the trip. But we haven't taken the trip yet. So until we do, they're not here, and I'm going to be pretty vague on details. But I think both of those combined was around $1,300. And when you see them, you'll be like, oh, yeah, that was a hell of a deal. So I just wanted to throw that in there. I hope you guys enjoyed going around looking at all the equipment, seeing what we've been paying for it. Some of it we got really good deals on. Some of it we just paid what the going rate was, basically. But all of it, I think we came out pretty good on. As I said earlier, nothing we've bought has really screwed us yet. Everything we've had to deal with is just stuff we would expect for what it is and how much we paid for it. So, yeah, very, very happy with all that. Moving on, I want to talk about some of the projects that are going on here. We'll start with the projects, major projects anyhow, that we got done this past year. Starting off with the Excursions fuel injectors. Now, usually I wouldn't put that on a list like this, but because that was the very first major project I was able to do in this shop, because we got the Pontiac out at the end of December 2024. So January 2025, I was able to squeeze the Excursion in here and put fuel injectors in it. And I'd had those for a couple of years, waiting for a good opportunity to do it. And it may have been 20 degrees outside when I was doing that job, but it was nice to just be able to do it in this building. So that was awesome. We got the Twin City tractor moved, which is part of the shop improvement project. Moved it from just out north here of the Butler building all the way around to where the Pontiac is on the north side of the Balin building, which that was kind of a production, but I got it done. That was nice. Off camera, I didn't document it very well. We fixed a corner in the corral out here that for some reason was never finished when the corral was built. There was a stretch of about 20 feet that was never put in, and there were just some panels and stuff there. I don't know if they had intended to expand that corral, and so they didn't put anything in there. I don't know, but Dad and I did. We went in there, we put new posts in, we cut down a tree, welded everything up, new panels, and it was nice to have that fixed because more than one cow had gotten through there over the years with the flimsy old wooden panels and stuff that had been wired back together I don't know how many times. So it was good to get that put in place correctly. Over several months, I got the U90, the cab stripped, cleaned up, put back together, got an alternator in it, made sure that was working, and then Dad started working on putting new flooring in it. And as I said earlier, it's not completely done, but we got it done enough that it could drive and that we could do stuff with it, and that was a nice thing to have not completely done, but done enough. That truck came in handy, very handy, later in the year. So the shop roof, I got most of the shop roof painted. And not only did that stop a lot of the leaks from when it rained, but it also made it a lot cooler in here. So even in the middle of summer when, the sun was really beating down on the metal building, all that white roof paint reflected a lot of heat. So I'm glad I got that done. Not 100%. The north side here, I've only got it about 2/3 done. I ran out of time and warm days to finish it, but that's all right. I'll get it done here in a few months when it warms up again. The 875, I got the AC fixed in it. That was a big project because I fought that thing all summer, and it really made me mad. And I attempted 4 videos. I think I attempted 4, maybe 5 videos on fixing the air conditioning in that damn tractor. And every one of them did not turn out because I could never get the thing fixed. It just kept breaking. And I didn't want to make it a 7-part series on trying to fix the air conditioning in it. So off camera, I finally, with use of the AC hose crimper that you guys bought, finally got that all completely rebuilt and working. Works pretty nice now, and learned a lot about a lot of things during that process. So that was nice to have done. With the scraper back here, we were able to fix up a lot of the terraces that you could barely see and that really weren't doing their job. So in theory, that side of the field will hold if it rains. I kind of talked about that in a video where I showed the scraper working. You guys can go check that out if you want. The grain truck, I adjusted the clutch in it, which usually that's not that big a deal. Except that was the very first clutch I'd ever adjusted, first and foremost. But also, that thing fought me really, really hard because it was that old value-style clutch, and you have to pull this little piece of metal out, and then there's a ring, and you have to use a pry bar and pry the thing around, and it was stuck. Oh, man, I fought that thing for 3 days to get it adjusted, and I was pretty sore by the time I got done. So it was nice to have it finished. That, incidentally, the grain truck shifts very, very nicely now with that adjusted. We got planted early. So even though we had constant rain delays, even though we were later getting that drill than we had planned, we still managed to get it assembled and get planted before anyone else. And that's a first. I don't think we've ever planted that early. And it was still later than we wanted, but it was much earlier than I think we ever have before. So that made us feel pretty good. We even worked our calves early, and they worked pretty easy. I think this was about the calmest group of calves that we had ever had. And usually they're not too bad because we go walk around our cows, and the animals are used to us, and that helps a lot. But these calves were pretty tame, and that was a good deal. Later on, I fixed the door on the skid steer. That may not seem like a big deal, but when you use a skid steer almost every day, and you have to get in and out of it constantly, and the door doesn't want to open very well, or shut very well, or stay shut, then it gets on your nerves pretty quick. So it was really nice to be able to order the parts, because those parts were expensive. I've got a video out on it. Those parts were expensive, so we bit the bullet on that and got everything and got it in, and now, as I said earlier, it opens very nice, and that's a good deal there. And then the last thing, I didn't entirely get this done in 2025, but I did get most of it done, and that was the front end rebuild on the Excursion. Now, I don't have any videos out on it yet. I'm actually editing the last episode in that series. I mean, not obviously right this second, because I'm making this video, but I'm working on editing the final episode in that series, and then they will be uploaded sometime in January here, but I got most of it done, and the Excursion desperately needed that front end rebuilt. You know, springs, shocks, bump stops, all the steering linkages, stuff like the track bar, new wheel hubs, locking hubs, axle shaft U-joints, all that stuff. Lots and lots of parts, lots and lots of work. The steering gear, that was another thing that I did there. So I got most of it done in 2025. I had quite a few delays at the end of December there that took me away from that project. Otherwise, I would have had it done faster, but that's okay. You should be seeing videos on that shortly after this one is uploaded, actually. So, yeah, those were about the big projects that I got done in 2025. It's not an exhaustive list. There's a lot of little stuff that I did behind the scenes, but these were, to me, really the big landmark things that got taken care of. They represent a lot, which is why they're on the list, and hopefully that makes sense to you. Now we're going to take a minute and talk about in-progress projects, which actually is the chisel. That's it. That's the in-progress project. Everything else is minor. I mean, it needs to be done, but it's not really worth putting on a list. Excuse me. So moving on to planned projects. Like, what do we want to try and get done here in 2026? Well, our super secret project, we need to service all of the farm equipment, which means we need to have all the fluids and filters changed and clean some stuff up on them, a few little repairs here and there. But the biggest thing is fluid and filter changes on all of the farm equipment, including the trucks. That's going to be a big thing there. That's going to involve a lot of lubricants. So that's going to be a pretty big capital outlay because we're going to be buying fluid by the barrel for that. So it could run longer. I mean, it's not in dire need of servicing. Really, anything's not in dire need, but I would feel a lot better if it was done. And also, you can't really see it, but over here, there's a whole shelf full of filters for most of the equipment that we have. And there's still even more filters I need to order because we picked up so much stuff I wasn't planning on last year. So anyway, servicing all the farm equipment is on the list. We need to finish this shop. We need to get this cleaned up. We need to get the storage building emptied or torn down or whatever we're going to do. We need to finish this out with OSB on the walls and stuff. We need to get the electrical fixed. We need to get lights in it, all that. We need to get this shop in good shape, complete with a bench, a tire machine, and a real air compressor. All that is that's going to make the difference between a project taking a day or a week. Or, if you would rather, the difference between a project taking a week or a month. That's a big ticket item we need to take care of. Oh man. You guys remember the International 1586 sitting out here? If you don't, that's fine. Long story short, we have an International 1586. We don't like it. We want it gone. But it's broken, so it needs to be fixed. Which means it has to come into the shop in pieces. It's not just going to roll in here. But it needs to come into the shop so that we can get that fixed and then get it out of here. Because it is a thorn in our side. And it's an eyesore. So that's on the list. We need to finish the cab on the U90, which means putting HVAC in it, finishing the insulation that we're doing, a few other things we need to get it taken care of, and then we also need to refurbish the cab on the grain truck because it's disgusting. And the grain truck also needs quite a bit of work, but the cab is the biggest thing because it smells like rat. No one likes that. So that is on the list. Now, I haven't really talked about this much, but the lease roads that we have, we call them lease roads. They're really not anymore because none of the wells, we own the wells that are here. No one comes and pumps them or anything like that because we own them. And they're out of production. We don't really produce the damn things. But the lease roads are pretty crappy, and we need to fix those up so that they're just better. It's not necessary, but it is a big undertaking. So it is on the list. More importantly than that, we have got to mow our pastures. Now, you might think that's a little weird, but if you guys have ever looked out and noticed in the background, and I don't show it a lot because it's kind of embarrassing, the pastures are overrun with weeds. And I don't think it's an exaggeration to say we have lost 50 to 60% of our grazing capacity, potential grazing capacity even, because of trees and weeds. So it is on our list. This is a big ticket item to get a tractor and mower, mow our pastures. That's going to make a huge difference around here on a lot of things. And then in that same vein, clearing trees. There's a lot of really weak, flimsy trees that are just in the way and annoying and a pain in the ass, and we need to get them out of here too. We're working on acquiring some specialized tree clearing equipment, if you will. So all that needs to be done. That Great Plains drill needs to be gone through and fixed up pretty good so that we are guaranteed to not have any problems with it. It did a good job for us, no more than we did to it. Don't misunderstand me. But the seed cups on it and the rubber tubes and stuff, they're pretty brittle and they look like they need to be replaced. So as long as we can get the parts for it, we're going to get the drill up here and we're going to go through it. We're really going to fix it up and make sure that it's in tip-top shape. Because when we go to plant, the last thing we want to do is stop and fix the damn drill. That is not what we want to do. If a tractor breaks, we'll put another tractor on the drill and keep planting. But if the drill breaks, we just don't want to do that. We want to give that thing the best chance of running problem-free as possible. That's going to save us a lot of grief. I tell you that for free. And then the last big thing that I can really think of to write down anyhow that we want to do is finish fixing the terraces. We did a lot last October, no more than we had, and we did the worst spots. But there's lots of places out there that really need the terraces built back up properly, and that's going to be a pretty huge undertaking that we're going to try and work on this coming year. All right, just a few more things I want to talk about, and then we'll get after the end of video surprise. I'm really excited. I really want to show it to you guys. But this stuff is just as important. Let's talk about some things that have been going on behind the scenes. I'm not going to get personal with you here or anything. Just stuff as it concerns the channel behind the scenes. I don't know if you guys have noticed. I hope you have. I have been trying as much as I can to take this YouTube thing more seriously. When I first started out, my attitude was, well, I'm going to make this and I'll upload it, and if people watch it, great, and if they don't watch it, whatever. But then as time went on and people started watching stuff, I started taking it a little more seriously. I thought, well, if people are going to watch this, if there's a good chance of people watching this, I suppose I better put a little more effort in. And I've tried to increase the amount of effort going into the videos over the years. And I hope that in 2025 that has shown a little bit. Some of the videos I've put out did not turn out at all how I wanted them to, but that's literally all I had to film because that's what I was doing. So it was either get something out of it or nothing, and I chose to get something out of it. There are several videos that I had filmed this past year that I normally, in years prior, would have put together and uploaded. But because I am really pushing hard to have a better commitment to quality, those videos were scrapped because they weren't flowing how I wanted. And to me, that's very important because that's how I, in my mind, that's how I keep your attention as the viewer, is keeping stuff entertaining, keeping stuff moving along to where it's informative, but it's not boring. I don't want your eyes to glaze over and you go to sleep while you're watching my stuff. I try to cut down on that. So, in taking things more seriously, like I said, I'm trying to make stuff flow better. I am doing my damnedest to make shorter videos, but I don't know that I'm ever going to manage it. The harder I try to make a shorter video, the longer it ends up being. I don't know what to do. My hands are tied, I guess. In making the videos flow smoother, let's say, I have been doing multiple takes of not just an entire video, but certain parts of videos. The video that you're watching right now, this is my fourth attempt at this channel review in the past 3 days. Because the first 3 attempts, yeah, they're okay, but they're not how I want. They don't meet this minimum standard that I'm trying to set for myself and for this channel. Unfortunately, the commitment to quality means, like I said, that I'm scrapping videos that you guys probably would have liked to have seen. There's a whole lot of stuff that I start on it starts out good, and then it starts to fall apart, and then it's incomplete. There's just a lot of failure going on behind the scenes, if you were curious. But I'm hoping that me being more picky and committing to quality more is producing a better product. I hope you guys are noticing that. If you don't notice any difference, well, whatever, I guess. Anyway, I have a new computer, which is going to make editing a lot easier. It already has, actually, because hitherto now, the way it would work is I would make a video, and then I have to edit it. Well, because somebody who makes the videos goes on forever, and those videos get really long, the old computer I had was pretty slow. And it did the job. It made most of the videos that you see on this channel. But it was a slog to edit anything. I hated it. I dreaded doing it because it just took forever. And if the editor started to freeze up, I had to wait and make sure that it buffered and went ahead and worked, because it would crash sometimes because I overworked it. And with this new computer, I don't have that problem. I can run the editor as fast as I want, and it doesn't hurt anything. I can export stuff a lot faster, or render it if you prefer that term, and it makes a huge difference. So I'm very happy with that. Now, because I have a new computer, I'm going to try out a new editor, which should allow me to add in more effects, because there's some videos where I would have liked to have done something very simple as putting an arrow on the screen to point to something in particular. But with the editor that I'm currently using, which is OpenShot, that's very difficult to do. Damn near impossible, actually. And I don't have a large degree of technical skill in the computer world. I'm pretty basic in what I know. And I'm always trying to learn more, but I never took like a computer science course or anything. I'm self-taught, and it shows. But with this new editor, it should be easier to add in these effects, and it shouldn't seem too awkward or out of place. That's what I'm hoping. And the new computer should handle the new editor. Now, before we end this little point here, I was going to edit this channel review with the new editor. But because I am so far behind where I want it to be, I don't have time to screw with this in the new editor and figure out how stuff works. So this is going to go through the old editor. And if I can have things go my way, this channel review will be the final video that I edit with the OpenShot video editor. And it's nothing against OpenShot. I've used it for years. It's free. I like it just fine. But it's very, very basic. And I want to get just a little bit more advanced, and I don't want to get too ridiculous. So I'm moving on to something a little more professional. That's the plan, anyway. I'll get some practice in with some videos behind the scenes before I put out something here for you all to watch. That way it's not too terribly awkward. I gotta get a feel for what I'm doing first, you know what I mean? The final thing that I will mention here, the YouTube income that I get from the ads that you watch on my videos, it is a huge help. I know I said this earlier, and I meant it. This is a huge help. It means more than I can really express in words. It means a lot. Now, you can think of this what you want, but I do actually like to make money because money allows me to do things that I enjoy doing. And so I'm interested in making more money on YouTube. But YouTube is anal about their ad placement. There's an option when I upload a video to YouTube and I say, yes, I want ads on this. Yes, I want mid-roll ads, which means ads that play as you're watching the video. If I let YouTube pick how many mid-roll ads are on my videos, they will put an ad in anywhere from every minute and a half to every 3 or 4 minutes. And they just saturate the entire video with advertisements. And to me, that's ridiculous. So, and I made a video about this a few months ago, but what I've been trying to do is I upload the video, I say, yes, I want mid-roll ads. And then after it's finished checking and whatever to make sure I didn't violate their community guidelines or whatever, I go back through and I basically cut out 60 to 70% of the mid-roll ads that they had placed in the video. And that way you guys aren't getting bombarded with ads constantly. You want to watch a video with ads, right? What you don't want to watch is ads with little bits of video in between. Nobody wants to do that. And I don't know what YouTube's grand strategy here is, but quite honestly, they're pissing everybody off. Content creators and viewers. They're making everybody mad, and I don't know how they expect to make money as a company if they make all of their content creators angry and then all of their viewers leave. I don't understand what the strategy here is, but they're pretty bad about wanting to shoehorn in all these advertisements, and I'm trying to dial them back so that you guys have a somewhat pleasant viewing experience, because I don't like to watch ads, and I know you guys don't, but that's how I make money, and so I'm trying to find a good balance of I make a decent amount of money, but also you guys can watch the freaking video. And it helps that I don't depend on the YouTube income to stay alive. It is supplemental. It's a huge help, don't misunderstand me, but I don't need it. I can live without the YouTube money, but it would suck. I actually like having the YouTube money. So anyway, that's the last thing I wanted to mention for this little segment. The ad revenue does help. I am doing my best to keep a good balance here. So if you guys think that the ads you're seeing on my videos are overwhelming and there's too many of them, you have no idea what it looked like before I fixed it. So, not trying to be rude here, but count your blessings. All right, let's hop in this thing and go show you what the big surprise is. Now, using your noggin, I'll give you a little hint as to what it is. It has something to do with these yellow metal panels right here. I imagine that's going to give it away, but you guys put your brains to work and see if you can guess exactly what we bought. All right, we're over at the other place now. And before I show you what this is, I want you all to know that this thing has been in the works for months, and I really desperately wanted to showcase this on the channel before the end of the year, but it just did not work out that way. And believe me, I tried. So I'm going to give you guys a sneak preview, a special surprise of this. Oh yes, this is real. It is all ours. Now, I'm not going to tell you everything about it because I'd be here for an hour, and we're going to save that for the walk around, but I'm going to give you this very special sneak preview. So, what we have here is a 1963 Alice Chalmers, and that, my friends, is why I bought this hat, by the way. This is a reproduction hat. I got it off of Etsy, just if you were curious, but that's why I bought the Alice hat. Also, one of the generators we bought has an Alice engine in it, coincidentally. But anyway, 1963 Alice Chalmers HD16DP, serial number 6121, torque converter drive, full power shift, and this is actually quite amazing because I've been doing some reading on this, and so yeah, I later found out this is actually very impressive. This has the original Alice Chalmers 844 cubic inch turbocharged diesel engine. The old 16,000H is the model number for that. So what's even more impressive is that this is the original engine that came with this tractor. I am not kidding. The serial numbers match. The one on that tag matches the one on that tag. I don't know where it went. Right there. Yeah, they're all matching. Now, you can ignore the big iron sticker because that's not where we got this. We got this from the same location we got the scraper. And we were talking to that old boy about that scraper, and he said, oh, we got a dozer back there. And sure enough, through the jungle of hemp that was 15 or 20 foot tall, here sat old Alice. And as the story goes, there was a hose that blew. That's where she died. And he said, we had Big Iron come look at it, but they didn't really want to mess with it. So Dad and I said, well, how much do you want for it? And he said $5,000 is what he wanted for this. So Dad told him, well, if we can get it running, we'll fix the hose and we'll buy it. And, of course, I fixed the hose. We bought it. Dad wrote him a check for $6,000. And then an old buddy of mine hauled this up here for the low price of $450. Now, those of you who are very astute will probably ask, well, now, wait a minute. If you said that scraper was only 30 minutes away from where you live, that means a dozer is only 30 minutes away from where you live. So why did you pay $450 to haul it here? That's not the going rate. That doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't. And it doesn't make dollars either. In fact, it costs dollars. And honestly, $450 was maybe a little high, but the reason it was so high is because it was a short distance. I was talking to him on the phone, and he said, well, my boss said we could do it for this because anything less than that, it's not really worth leaving the yard because it's such a short distance, and it is a pretty heavy machine. This should weigh around 45,000 pounds with the blade on it. It's not light, you know. Good bulldozer is nice and heavy. So that's why it costs so much. But I'm not going to complain because he squeezed us in right before he had to start hauling cotton. And I think he's still hauling cotton. So I'm glad that he was able to do that. And it was nice to see him for a little bit. You know, I hadn't seen the man in years. So anyway, yeah, up here in the operator station, all the gauges work except for the ammeter. And that's just because the alternator's not hooked up. It's got the original alternator on it. A lot of stuff on this is original. And the temperature gauge there, it does work. Takes forever to get this thing hot. But yeah, it's very, very impressive. The only thing that doesn't work on this that I'm aware of is right here for the blade tilt. And the blade sits kind of crooked. And I think it's because that is holding it in a crooked position and I can't turn it back to straight because this does nothing. But the parking brake is more of a suggestion because I forgot to turn it off the other day and I started going and it didn't even care that the brake was engaged. That might be good or bad. This thing does need some adjustments. I mean, That lever's pretty tight. This one's got a little bit of slop in it. You know, it needs some TLC. It needs pretty much all the rubber hoses replaced because they're old and crusty. Some of these have been replaced and they're okay, but most of them are original. Like that one right there. Yeah, that's what the hose I replaced to get this thing moving looked like. I pulled that out in pieces. Otherwise, it's pretty good. Undercarriage is in good shape. I have something cool to show you on the undercarriage here in a minute. Now, the canopy here, this part is factory because it's got, I mean, for the most part, it's got pretty good welds on it. But you get out there, those don't have good welds. So either they had a monkey welding stuff at the Alice factory, or that was all aftermarket. And I suspect that because they welded the forward canopy mounts right to the radiator guard instead of utilizing these mounting holes, I suspect that this was very much an aftermarket build, but that's okay. We'll fix it up right. The rest of this is it's just in really good shape overall. There are two problems with it that I'm aware of. Number one, diesel fuel keeps getting into the engine oil. I am working on figuring out for certain how that could happen. It's something with the injection pump. I know that. And the second problem that I've been having, no more than I've driven this, it slams into gear when you put it in forward. Now, I know it does it when you go into first forward. I don't know if it does it in second forward. It does not slam into gear when you put it in reverse. It's actually very smooth in reverse. But those are the two major problems. The other problems I've been having are this left brake does not always want to actuate. You got to pump it up a little bit and pull down on the handle, and then it will turn. Now, when it starts turning, when it decides it's going to activate the brake or the steering clutch or whatever, it will turn nice. And it's got full power going to where it should be, but getting it to do that stuff's kind of stuck, and I don't know if it just needs to be run or if it needs an adjustment. I know it needs to be run, actually, but I don't know if it needing to be run or it needing an adjustment is more of a problem in that department. But it sounds beautiful. It fires right up. Absolutely no problem, and I would start it for you, but I robbed the battery out of it to put in the 800 so I could get it up to the house. And also, with fuel getting back into the oil, I don't really want to run this thing more than I absolutely have to, and I hope you all can understand that. But don't worry, when we do the walk around, this thing will get started up, because trust me when I tell you, it's music to my ears, and it'll be music to your ears too. A machine this old with undercarriage this good is pretty rare, honestly. And a machine this old with original undercarriage is even more rare. I don't know that all of this is original, but what I can tell you is that at least on this side, if you look right there, you can see the old Alice Chalmers logo on those track chains. Every one of these links has it. And on the other side, I think they got scarred to where you can no longer see that stamping. But that, to me, is, pretty cool. Carriers don't look too bad. Pins and bushings, well, the bushings don't look horrible. I imagine the pins have some slop in them just from use. I'm pretty sure these are dry chains instead of wet chains. If you were curious, that's what the hour meter says. But it's been disconnected for a while, so I don't know if it actually works. There are some curiosities I have noticed with this machine. I've been reading up as much as I can on these, which it's kind of hard to find a lot of info on them on the internet. I've been buying a lot of manuals for them. I've got almost a complete set for this. There are just a few that I'm missing that I don't think I need right now, so I didn't spend the money on them. The curiosities start with what color this was painted originally, because from what I've read, you could get these painted orange or yellow. But obviously this thing's painted yellow, but there's indications like here and there, and most importantly, there on the alternator, that this was painted orange originally. So I don't know exactly what was going on there. The other thing that I'm not clear on is whether or not this came with a turbo from the factory, because the hood has had some welding done to it. The turbo is correct for this machine. It's an Air Research turbocharger, which is a Garrett from, it was a division of Garrett back in the day. So, I mean, it's correct for this tractor. It's correct for this engine. The air cleaner system, this should be a Donaldson air cleaner. So that should be correct. Orange paint. The original style air cleaner was a FAR, and it looked like one of those Saturn missile batteries you'd stick it, it would go right here. I mean, the hood's got the cutout for it, and the air intake nozzle, snorkel, whatever you want to call it, would be right here, and then the air cleaner element would be right there, and then it would go, where it needed to go. But this has a turbocharger on it. Now, it has Alice parts everywhere along the line. It wasn't a hack job. It was done right. Not sure if that was factory, aftermarket field conversion. I'm not certain. The 16,000H that this is, it could be turbocharged, but given that this is a 1963, I didn't think it was supposed to be. The service literature that I have kind of indicates it's not really supposed to have a turbo on it, but if you have a turbo on it, it's not the end of the world. I'm not taking it off. It sounds good and everything, but a little bit of a unorthodox air intake. If you have the turbo with the Donaldson air cleaner, the parts book makes it look like it's supposed to be mounted a little differently, but that's okay. I'm not going to change it. It works, and it's been on there for quite a while, so we're just going to leave it alone. The really weird thing, see if I can get this off of here one-handed. Can I? Maybe? Okay. Got her loose. All right. This right here, though, is the weirdest thing. It may be hard to see on camera, but that's green paint. Now, you guys can tell me, I'm going to show this again in the walk around, but you tell me if that is Army green paint or Forestry Service green paint. I don't know. Now, this could just be one piece that they put on here from another tractor, and the rest of this is all original. Maybe something landed on the original pre-cleaner and screwed it up, so they robbed this off of another unit that just happened to be painted green originally. I don't know, but I saw a little bit, I thought, of green paint on this right here. It may have been, I think it was actually on this pre-cleaner up here, but that is another thing that I don't understand, and I've looked all over this and I do not see any evidence of green paint anywhere else except on that pre-cleaner. So the mysteries continue. Obviously there's a lot of really bad rust going on. Not surprised. This is a battery compartment. The fender here still has plenty of meat left on it. This will be fixed. We'll weld it up and make it better, and we'll put some things in here to stop that battery from wanting to rot all this out. That's always a problem with battery boxes. They always want to rot out, but we'll get that fixed up. Pretty much every compartment on this had oil in it, except for the transmission, of course, because that one hose blew and it just sent oil everywhere back in the day. The transmission does not have a dipstick, but I've been in correspondence with a very helpful gentleman from North Carolina who is familiar with these things, and he gave me some rough dimensions for a replacement transmission dipstick. So I'm going to make one and get in there, but it has enough oil in it to run, of course. I had a rudimentary way of checking it. So yeah, this just needs fluid and filter change. All the rubber hose is replaced. The track's adjusted a little bit more. I've already done quite a bit of adjusting on them. We need to fix the fuel and the oil. We need to make sure that it's slamming into forward is not going to blow up the transmission, because I don't want to pull that transmission out. I can tell you that for free. Other than that, it's ready to go. It's a unit. One last look at it. I'm going to do a proper walk around on this as soon as I possibly can. I promise. I really want to get this thing on the channel. I really want to get a conversation started and start collecting information from people who have worked on these and run them. That's kind of my goal here. Whenever I come to turn wrenches on this, from now on, I'll start putting videos together, and they may not be very good, but they'll be something. Super excited about this thing. I would love nothing more than to start working on this dozer immediately, but I can't. There are some other things that absolutely have to take priority first. We're going to go back to the house real quick and discuss those, and then we will wrap this video up. But just look at it. Just look at it. Beautiful. Other than that piece of the canopy there missing. Oh, it also, if you didn't notice, it has reinforcement built on here. I have been told that is so that this could shove a scraper. That is what they used to do back in the day, is just weld some extra metal on the blade so that pushing scrapers didn't wear stuff out prematurely. I'm not going to say those welds are very good, but I don't think this piece of metal is going to come off, and that's all that matters. I hope you guys enjoyed looking at the bulldozer. I know I didn't show you as much of it as you would have liked to have seen, and I didn't show you as much of it as I would have liked to have shown you, but that's just the way it worked out. It's better to keep that as short as possible, and I'm pretty sure that bit went on a little longer than I had planned, but that's okay. It is really cool, and I hope that you're as excited about it as I am, because man, am I excited. So to finish out this video, let's talk about things that we're going to try and do in 2026. I talked about this a little bit earlier with projects, but I left out a part where I was going to talk about the equipment we plan to get. I don't know how this is actually going to work out, but we don't plan to get much. We actually got a lot of what we need in 2025. So there are just a few things we kind of need to get to really round stuff out. And from there, everything else is just gravy, if you know what I mean. The biggest thing that we need to get is a scraper tractor. And it's going to have to be pretty serious. Not necessarily because the scraper needs a lot of PTO horsepower to operate the elevating mechanism, but because if the elevating mechanism fails, and we're going to use it as a pan scraper, we want a tractor that's got enough weight and power to really pull that thing and then drag it around when it's full of dirt. So that is number one on the list. We also need to get a slightly smaller PTO tractor to run the mower, and then we also need to get a mower. Now the mower tractor, you could say, well, why not just use the scraper tractor to run the mower? And we could, but it would be a little ridiculous, and then we're also tying up the scraper tractor running the mower because we have a lot of mowing to do. And if Dad and I need to be out working at the same time, well, we've only got one PTO tractor, and we're just going to try and avoid that situation if we can. And the mower tractor will also run the baler that we plan to get because we are going to get back into doing our own hay. We're going to try anyhow. I mean, all of this is hypothetical, of course. And then naturally, if we're going to have a baler and a tractor to run the baler, then we're also going to have a swather. Now, we do have one. You probably saw it in the background of the, me showing you the dozer a second ago. And it does, well, I don't know if it does currently. It's been sitting for a while, but it did work and it ran fine. There wasn't really anything wrong with it. But it's a little small and slow, and we would like to avoid using that as our main unit. We have no problem fixing it and using it to cut some smaller pieces for hay if we have to, but we're going to try and get a bigger, newer, faster, better, stronger swather that you can actually get parts for. The last thing on the list of big ticket items we're going to try and get in 2026 is a crane. And you might say, well, that's ridiculous. Why do you need a crane? When we get the crane, well, if we get the crane, let me say it that way. If we get the crane, it will become obvious why we need one. Trust me, we have our reasons. We're not just looking for a crane to have, we partially are looking for a crane to have fun, but it does serve a purpose. It will serve a purpose. It's not quite as ridiculous as it sounds. And then we also need to get a bunch of trailers. Varying types of trailers for, not just gooseneck, but also some pintle trailers and some fifth wheel trailers. And we're very deficient in the trailer department. We're going to try and remedy that. So that is what we can look forward to, hopefully look forward to in equipment acquisition. Hopefully that's what we can look forward to for equipment acquisitions in 2026. We'll see what happens. All right, final bit for this video. Video upload schedule for January is going to be this video. After that, I have almost finished editing the Excursions Front-End Rebuild series. I'm on the last episode of it now, fixing it up in, the Movie Magic Studio. When that's done, I will upload all of those videos as quick as I possibly can, and then you guys can watch them or not. I don't expect a lot of people to watch them, but that is something I wanted to get on camera, and I know it's a lot, but I wanted to do it that way, and yeah. So then after that, I'd like to go do the walk around on the bulldozer. I don't know if I'll actually get to it or not. Dad said that he really wanted to get on the 1586 International. Get it apart, get it in here, get it fixed, get it put back together, and get it out of here. Really wants to put our nose to the grindstone on that. So I imagine that's the next thing that's going to be on the channel. And believe me, that's not what I want to be doing, but it does need to be done, and I think I'm going to feel a lot better when it is finally done, because it's been in the back of my mind for years. Oh, we need to get started on that. We need to get started on that. Yeah, we really do. It needs to go. And then after that, I have no clue. We'll just do stuff as it comes up. This time of year, like today was pretty nice, and then in a couple weeks, it's probably going to be freezing and blowing snow everywhere. Hell, it could do it tomorrow for all I know. I haven't checked the weather in a couple days, but this time of year, well, really any time of year, weather is the biggest factor, but at least when it's warm outside, I can come out in the morning and do stuff, right? As long as it's not super windy. But wintertime, that's hard on batteries. It's hard on bare hands that hold the camera. And it's tough to work on machines in a shop that's not heated when it's below freezing. It's tough. Not impossible, but it is tough. So I don't know what's going to come next after all that. But yeah, this video, excursion front end rebuild. Hopefully I can squeeze the bulldozer in, and then yeah, we're going to turn around, I think, and start on the International. But we'll see what happens in the meantime. There's all sorts of other stuff we can do. So, with all that being said, guys, I'm going to get off of here. I hope that this version of the channel review turns out pretty good to my satisfaction, because, well, it's going to have to, because I don't have time to film it again. This was my last attempt, was today. And I had a pretty nice day to do it. Mother Nature came through for me, and I appreciate that. And even more, I appreciate you guys. I know I've said it more than once through this video, but it really does mean a lot that you all subscribe and you watch stuff and you like it from time to time. So anyway, I'll get off of here. Once again, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for a very good 2025 on the Red Iron Farm. And here's to hoping 2026 is even better. So far, so good. We're going to try and keep it that way. We'll see you guys later.